Morning, guys. Well, this is Westminster Cathedral. I was out and about in Victoria the other day getting some pills for the dog from the vets, and instead of coming straight home I decided to have a look around the Victoria area, and I got some nice bits and pieces, but then found this place, and I have never seen this place before. I didn't know Westminster had a cathedral, I just thought it had an abbey. Look at it. So I thought I'd give this building a video of its own. I've got some other nice bits, and I went out yesterday to Brick Lane in East London, and I've got to do my research on what I saw yesterday and found yesterday. So I thought I'd look at Westminster today. So look at the brickwork here. Now what I think has happened here is that there was a former building and it's been reimagined, which is, I think, what they call it. So before we go any further, I'm going to show you the wiki to this. My Gregorian chant. So start again. Westminster Cathedral, or the Metropolitan Cathedral of the Precious Blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, was the mother church of the Catholic Church in England and Wales. It was purchased, the site, was purchased by the Diocese of Westminster in 1885, and construction was completed in 1903. The actual construction didn't start until 1895 though, because there was a lot of arguing, probably about how to restructure or reimagine this thing. When I was mooching about in Victoria, I found a Victoria Palace, and it had a stone on it, and they call renovation reimagining. So a reimagined building. So I found some history. Now the cathedral site was originally called Bullingha Fen and formed part of the marsh around Westminster. Basically, I think it was just mud flooded. It was reclaimed by the Benedictine monks, who were the builders and owners of Westminster Abbey. So they owned the land that the cathedral was built on, and it was used as a market and a fairground, a bit like my estate was used as a piggery. I suspect that it was like a complete mess. After the Reformation, so it was used as a market and a fairground, and after the Reformation the land was used as a maze, a pleasure garden, and as a ring for bull baiting, but it remained largely waste ground. So then they sold part of the abbey. It was sold by the abbey for the construction of a prison, which was demolished and then replaced by another prison, and then the Catholic Church bought it in 1884. So then they knocked the prison down, and I found a photograph of the prison. Here it is. Here's the prison. That is some prison, isn't it? Hey. Now my lighter's not working. Look at all this here. It's got some fabulous stuff going on for a prison. Tothill prison. So I found the cathedral on Google Maps. There it is. This is Victoria Street. This is Vauxhall Bridge Road. This is where John Lewis is now, and here's the cathedral. I found an old map of 1850. So this is our location. There's Victoria Street. This is Vauxhall Bridge Road now. It's called Pembroke Road then. And here, on the site of the prison, is where the cathedral is now. Let's go back and continue. So I crossed over the road to have a little closer look-see at this thing. I was aghast. All I could think about was, I don't know what I was thinking here. It was just ginormous. My son knows of this place because I always said, did you know that there's a cathedral in London? Westminster Cathedral. And he catches a bus there quite regularly when he goes to see his girlfriend, so he knew of it. So this here at the front, I think a lot of this is original. I'm not sure about this arch, because this sort of stuff here can be very cleverly made and moulded and painted. It's stucco. But some of this other stuff and this sort of stuff here, and you can actually go up the bell tower. I didn't have any change on me. It cost £6, and you can have a 360-degree look at London. But I thought I might wait for a cloud day and get up there with my camera and see what I can get up from that bell tower. Now here we go. Look, this really reminded me of the Tate, because the Tate, I think the Tate uses the foundations of the old Millbank prison as well. I think a lot of these, like, windows here are old. You can see all the red brick houses around here. It's just red brick everywhere in London, and they paint them up as well with white paint to give them that look, the tartar look or whatever it is. So some homeless person is using that as a sleeping spot. I just want to look at the top of this column. It's a little bit different from the usual tops of capitals that you get. See? It looks like rolled papyrus rather than we get the Ionic ones that have got the curlicues like that, or the Doric ones that have got the straight bits, or the fancy Corinthian. But this has got like this strange thing going on. And this is what I think is like definitely uber old stuff. See this brickwork here. I think that's original as well. Up here, it used to have statuary in it. It just had elements of the old building to the new building. I love their red brick. So I'm at the front, and I think at one time there was some sort of statuary in here, hence the little spikes. I thought maybe it might be for fire sticks or something, but no, I think they had like some sort of stuff going on in there at some point. Not now. As you can see, it's like big giant door there. People here coming to about here. Don't know, maybe they needed a big door for processions when they're holding up like those big tall flag things. I don't know. And I go in now. So this is like a font, small font on the wall. There's a few of these about. You can buy holy water in there as well, but I didn't have a little bottle. But you can bless your own water anyway, so the light streaming in. It's huge in here. And you have all these side chapels everywhere. There was a chapel down there, but there was a service. Yeah, good old Victorians, eh? They got this together in less than 10 years. So my thinking is that there was something here, and it was probably a bit of a mess. I have sugar my coffee, it's still early. And they just used it for various other things, pleasure gardens, bull baiting, probably nothing. If it was in an event, they were probably just clearing the place up, but they've got to say something. And then they decided to do something with the building. Now this stuff here, I'll just go back. It's just a bit loud, this music. I'll turn it off if you want. Turn it down a bit. So I found this, the cathedral mosaics, and there's mystery mosaics in here as well. So they've got some mosaics in here that they don't know. They don't know who to attribute it, who to attribute them to, which is quite strange because they're not that old, allegedly. And these particular mosaics that they have there, they're not attributed to anybody, whereas some of them, you know, most definitely are. And wait till you see some of these mosaics. So I'm tapping this here. This is like marble on the wall, but when I tapped it, it sounded like laminate to me. And Westminster Cathedral has a reputation for being like unfinished. It was just red brick inside, and they wanted it to be all done with mosaics and marbled. So they're still building it. They're still finishing off these side chapels. They're still completing the interior. And I was a bit suspicious of this marble. Gave it a knock, and it wasn't marble. That wasn't. I'm sure a lot of it is, but the amount of money it would cost to face this entire cathedral with real marble, well, you know. So I'm going to continue having a walk around. Lots of these little sort of like niches put in that were to commemorate people, and they have these mosaic inlays as well, in keeping with the Byzantine feel of the place. And I must say that for a Roman Catholic cathedral, it's very sort of like Eastern in influence, shall I say. And apparently back in a few years ago, UKIP got into a bit of trouble because they thought it was a mosque and did some television broadcast from outside ranting and raving about mosques. And it's actually the head of the Roman Catholic seat in the UK. That was a more modern, so you can see how plastic this is. Now this was a very fine chapel, and it was having some renovation done, or being finished, or whatever. But look at the mosaic. It was glittering. These people are seriously important to merit this kind of like work going on. These little chapels are dedicated to various people. Like this one is the Chapel of St. Thomas of Canterbury. And there he is in his crypt. See the marble? And then look at this mosaic. And they had to use quite a sticky sort of like handmade glue. Look at it. I can't find any photographs of the construction of the cathedral itself, and I haven't as yet found any photographs of the mosaics being done, but I thought it would have been a BBC documentary or something. I mean, some of them were done in the 1960s, so this is the main part of the abbey. I found this altar very strange. This is over the main altar, but it just doesn't look all that modern to me. Look at it. And again, this heavy Eastern influence here. And when you consider that this place was built at a time when there was high poverty, there were children working in factories, it was the 1890s, and it's in that magical period again. This is Constantinople on a mosaic. It's in that magical sort of like 20-year period, 20 to 30-year period at the end of the 19th century, when the Victorians just basically rebuilt England in red brick. More of this mosaic. But some of it just looks seriously medieval to me. You know, it's the ceiling. Look at that. But what do I know? You know, one of the things about the Victorians is that they were so incredibly good at this, weren't they? There were lots of confessional boxes in there. I think that's maybe where the organ was, because I looked around for it and I couldn't see it, but there's a lot of services carried on there, and they talk about the organ being able to be accessed from 2 different locations in the cathedral, so that's more of a Corinthian top. But I found it a bit tacky in there with all this pseudo marble, and just didn't quite cut it for me. Chapel of St Patrick and the Saints of Ireland. This is still being built, which I felt a bit sorry for St Patrick. I thought he would have been one of the first ones in there, but no. He's got quite a modern statue of himself. That's probably painted wood. There were queues of people for confessional in there as well. So, yeah. And it cost £5 a minute to run that cathedral. My daughter worked it out, and it's nearly £3 million a year just to keep the place open, yeah. Yeah. Right, so I'm going to let it run now for the rest of the video. I hope you can sort of like understand where I'm coming from with this. I'm not saying that this whole thing was there and they lied. I'm saying that it was rebuilt, restructured, reimagined, using elements of some amazing structure that was already there, and probably been used for various things because it was in such a state. It was probably in a real mud flooded up state, and was ignored, used for various things, overlooked, and then eventually sorted out. Abbey now. I can't really put the children here. More of the Morris stuff. I thought you'd be interested in this. Winston Churchill used to live here with one of his women, Clementine. Look at the OTT-ness of this place. And unsurprisingly, it is incredibly low. Incredibly low. All of London is below the ground. Stupidly low. Like builders really did build down that low. Okay, sorry, I'm going to stop it and just show you the back of this. Look at the back! These domes, there's 3 domes as well. So, I don't know, maybe some of this stuff is like reworked in as well, you know? But at the same time that this thing was being put up, not far away, Millbank was being taken down and the Tate was being put up, and Vauxhall Bridge with its big old statues, that was being put up as well. So it doesn't take a huge sort of leap of imagination just to sort of like work out what a mess it must have been round here if they were doing all this building. And bearing in mind that most of this stuff as well, all this red brick, all these buildings have all got a similar date stamp. Look, a guy gave me then. Look at that. Why build all that at the back? Certainly didn't keep it simple, did he?